Some stories are written in whispers, others in storms. This one begins with a man who had no interest in love, and a woman who had no voice to tell him her heart. But fate has a way of breaking even the coldest silences. He built walls so high no woman could climb them, until the day she walked past without trying. Adrian Knight was the coldest CEO in the city. No scandals, no dates, no smiles. His employees whispered that he was married to his work. Others said he was incapable of love. Elise Rivera, on the other hand, was invisible, even in a crowded room. A junior designer at Knight Corp, she kept her head down, her notepad ready, and never spoke a word. She had been mute since childhood. Their worlds should never have collided. But on a rainy Tuesday, Adrian stepped into the design department unannounced. He was there to review a failing campaign, but his gaze stopped when he saw her, the quiet girl sketching in the corner. Something in her calm focus made him pause. "Who's that?" he asked the department head. "Elise Rivera." "She's talented but quiet," came the hesitant reply. The meeting went as planned, until Adrian surprised everyone by asking Elise to bring her designs to his office the next morning. When she arrived, she wrote on her notepad, "Why me?" "Because," Adrian said, "you see the world differently. And I want to know why." Elise left his office that day with her heart pounding, and no idea that the man everyone feared had just taken the first step toward falling for her. For a man who never noticed anyone, he was starting to notice everything about her. The next week, Adrian began making small appearances in the design department, officially to check progress, but his eyes always found Elise. He noticed the way she tapped her pencil when thinking. The way her hair fell forward when she leaned over her sketches. The way her lips curved into the smallest smile when she finished a design she liked. One afternoon, Elise stayed late, finishing a project. When she finally packed up, the office was empty, except for Adrian, standing by the elevator. "You shouldn't walk home alone this late," he said. "I'll drive you." In the car, she scribbled on her notepad, "You don't need to do this." "I know," Adrian replied, eyes on the road. "But I want to." When they reached her apartment building, he handed her a thermos. "For tomorrow." "It's coffee, the good kind." She smiled, mouthed thank you, and disappeared inside. Back in his car, Adrian sat for a moment, staring at the lit window of her apartment. Something in his chest felt different. And he wasn't sure he liked it. In an office full of noise, whispers can be the sharpest knives. By the third week, the whispers had started. "Why is the CEO always in design now? Do you think she's special to him? She doesn't even talk. How could she possibly?" Elise tried to ignore them, but the tension grew. Then one morning, Cassandra, the glamorous marketing manager, approached her desk. "You must be very proud," Cassandra said sweetly. Not everyone can catch the attention of Adrian Knight. Elise wrote, "It's not like that." Cassandra's smile was thin. "Let's hope it stays that way. For your sake." Later that day, Adrian called Elise into his office. "I heard what happened," he said. "If anyone bothers you, you tell me. Directly." She nodded, but the unease in her chest didn't fade. That evening, as she walked home, Elise couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching her. The next morning, she found a small white envelope on her desk. Inside was a note written in precise, masculine handwriting, "Ignore them. Just keep being you." No signature. No explanation. But she knew. For the rest of the week, Adrian seemed busier than ever, but somehow he still found moments to check in. A hand resting lightly on the back of her chair as he looked over her sketches. A silent nod of approval across the room. A glance that lingered just a second too long. One rainy evening, she was leaving work when she saw Cassandra standing in the lobby, laughing with Adrian. The way Cassandra touched his arm made Elise's stomach twist. She quickly walked past them, head down, telling herself it was none of her business. But Adrian noticed. He excused himself from Cassandra mid-sentence and followed Elise out into the drizzle. "Wait." She stopped. "You didn't even say goodbye," he said. She pulled out her notepad. "You were busy." "I'm never too busy for you," he said quietly. And then, almost like he regretted revealing too much, he added, "Be careful getting home." That night, she replayed his words over and over, wondering if they meant what she thought they did. The next week brought a surprise. Adrian announced a new project, a high-profile campaign for an international brand. And he wanted Elise to lead the design team. The room fell silent. "Me?" she wrote, wide-eyed. "You," he confirmed. "You're the only one I trust with this." The jealousy from others was instant. Whispers became sharper, stares colder. Cassandra's smile more venomous. Elise could feel the weight of every eye in the office. But she also felt the weight of Adrian's unwavering confidence in her, and that made her want to succeed even more. Late one night, she was still at the office when the power flickered and went out, plunging the floor into darkness. She fumbled for her phone's flashlight when a beam of light appeared from the corridor. "Adrian's." "You're still here," he said, sounding more relieved than surprised. "Come on. I'll take you home." In the elevator, lit only by emergency lights, they stood close. Too close. She could feel the warmth of his arm next to hers, the steady rise and fall of his breath. Her heart pounded so loudly she was sure he could hear it. When they reached the ground floor, he didn't step out immediately. He just looked at her for a long moment, as if searching for something in her eyes. Then he said, "You deserve more than this place gives you." Before she could write a reply, the doors opened and he walked out. The following days blurred together, deadlines, meetings, long nights. But in between, there were moments. His hand briefly touching hers as he passed her a pen. The way he sometimes seemed on the verge of saying something important, only to stop himself. Then, one afternoon, she returned from lunch to find her desk drawer slightly open. Inside was a small velvet box. Her fingers trembled as she lifted the lid. Inside was a delicate silver bracelet with a single charm shaped like a feather. She knew without asking who it was from. She slipped it onto her wrist, and the moment she did, she felt a strange certainty that something in her life was about to change forever. The bracelet never left her wrist. It was light, delicate, yet somehow it felt like armor, as if wearing it kept her connected to him, no matter how far apart they were. But not everyone admired the gift. The following Monday, Cassandra cornered her in the break room. "Pretty bracelet," she said, her tone sugary sweet. "Adrian has good taste, though I wonder how many others he's given jewelry to." Elise's fingers instinctively curled around the charm. She shook her head, mouthing no. "Oh, sweet girl," Cassandra smirked, "you really think you're special?" The words stung more than they should have. That night, Elise sat in bed staring at the bracelet, wondering if she was fooling herself. The next day, Adrian called her into his office. He was standing by the window, hands in his pockets, looking out over the city. "Do you trust me?" he asked without turning around. The question caught her off guard. She wrote, "Yes." "Why?" He finally looked at her. "Then believe me when I say, people will try to turn you against me. Don't let them." Before she could reply, the intercom buzzed. Cassandra's voice, Mr. Knight, the board is ready for you. His jaw tightened. This conversation isn't over. The days that followed were tense. Rumors swirled faster than ever. Cassandra was seen leaving Adrian's office late at night. Someone anonymously emailed Elise a photo of the two of them at a charity event, standing close, smiling. Elise tried to focus on the campaign, but doubt began creeping in. One evening, she was working late when she heard voices from the hallway, Adrian and Cassandra. You think I don't know what you're doing? Adrian's voice was cold, sharp. I'm doing what's best for you, Cassandra replied smoothly. That girl doesn't belong here. She's a distraction. And you know it. She's none of your concern, Adrian snapped. Stay away from her. Elise's heart raced. She knew she shouldn't be listening, but she couldn't move. Cassandra laughed softly. You can't protect her forever. Footsteps approached. Elise quickly ducked into the conference room, holding her breath as they passed. When the hallway was silent, she sank into a chair, her mind spinning. The next morning, Adrian found her in the design department. Come with me, he said. He drove her out of the city, past tall buildings and busy streets, until they reached a quiet lakeside park. The winter air was crisp, the water still. I wanted you to see this, he said. It's where I come when I need to think. They walked along the shore in silence. Finally, he stopped and faced her. Elise. I'm not good at this. I've avoided it for years. But when I'm with you, I don't want to avoid it anymore. Her heart pounded. She wrote, avoid what? His gaze was steady. Feeling. For a long moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. The only sound was the gentle lap of water against the shore. Then he reached for her hand. I don't care what anyone says. I want you in my life. But if that's not what you want. She squeezed his hand before he could finish. The relief in his eyes was almost imperceptible, but it was there. And yet, somewhere deep inside, she knew this was only the beginning of their story, and not all of it would be kind. The next few weeks felt different. Adrian didn't hide his attention anymore. He brought her coffee in the mornings, stopped by her desk just to check in, and even joined the design team for lunch once, something everyone swore had never happened before. But with his attention came more enemies. Cassandra's icy stares turned to open hostility. Colleagues whispered louder, as if daring Elise to overhear. One afternoon, Adrian called her into his office. His usual calm was gone, replaced by a sharp tension. The board thinks you're compromising my judgment, he said. Her chest tightened. She wrote, should I step back? His eyes narrowed. No. You're the only person I trust. That's exactly why they want you gone. Later that evening, Elise left the building and found Cassandra leaning against a black car, waiting. You're not ready for what comes with him, Cassandra said quietly. He's ruthless in business, Elise. And he doesn't keep people around for long. Elise turned to walk away, but Cassandra's last words followed her like a shadow. When he decides you're a weakness, he'll cut you out too. The words haunted her for days. Then came the gala. Knight Corp's annual charity event, formal, glamorous, and crawling with reporters. Elise had planned to skip it, but Adrian insisted. I want them to see you by my side. She wore a simple black dress. When Adrian saw her, his eyes softened in a way she'd never seen before. Perfect, he murmured. Throughout the night, they were inseparable. Cameras flashed, questions flew, and for the first time, Adrian smiled in public. But during a slow dance, Cassandra appeared at the edge of the floor, her smile sharp as glass. She leaned in and whispered something to Adrian. His expression changed instantly. "Stay here," he told Elise, then walked away with Cassandra. Elise waited. And waited. But he didn't come back. She left the gala alone, the sound of laughter and music fading behind her. The next morning, Adrian's office door was closed all day. He didn't come to see her, didn't call. By the second day, the silence was unbearable. She decided to confront him. When she walked in without knocking, she froze. Cassandra was sitting in his chair, smiling. Adrian was at the window, back turned. "Am I interrupting?" Elise wrote, her hands trembling. Adrian turned slowly. "We're in the middle of a discussion," he said coldly. It felt like a slap. She nodded, placed her notepad on his desk, and left without another word. That night, she took off the bracelet and set it on her kitchen counter. She didn't cry. Not yet. The following week, she kept her head down, avoiding his gaze. She buried herself in work, ignoring the ache in her chest. But Adrian noticed. And one evening, he appeared at her apartment door. "You're angry," he said. She shook her head. "I'm done," she wrote. "No," he said firmly. "You don't get to decide that for me." "Why not?" her eyes seemed to ask. "Because," he said, his voice low, "you're the first person I've ever needed." Her resolve wavered, but she didn't let him in. Not that night. Days passed. Adrian didn't push, but he didn't give up. Small notes appeared on her desk. Her favorite coffee waiting for her in the morning. A silent promise in every glance. Then, one afternoon, everything changed. Cassandra was gone. Resigned. Rumors flew, some said Adrian had forced her out, others claimed she left on her own. That evening, Adrian came to Elise's desk. "Walk with me." They ended up back at the lake. "I told you once I'm not good at this," he said. "But I'm trying. And I'm not letting you walk away." Her heart wanted to believe him. Her mind wasn't sure. Still, when he held out his hand, she took it. The weeks after Cassandra's departure were calmer, almost peaceful. The gossip in the office faded, replaced by a cautious respect for Elise. The campaign she led was a success, winning praise from the board and new contracts for the company. But peace never lasts long. One late night, Elise was in the office alone, reviewing design drafts, when her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. A low, distorted voice said, "He's using you. When the deal is done, you're gone." The line went dead. Her hands shook. She debated calling Adrian, but what could she even say? Instead, she stayed in the office until dawn, unable to shake the chill in her bones. The next day, she handed Adrian the note she'd written, "Someone's threatening me." His face darkened instantly. "Who?" She shrugged. Within an hour, his security team was combing through building footage, phone records, everything. He didn't leave her side the entire day. That night, as he drove her home, he said, "Elise, I built walls my whole life. But you've made me want to tear them down. I won't let anyone hurt you." Something in his voice told her he meant every word. Then, just as things seemed to be settling, the crisis hit. The company's biggest investor pulled out unexpectedly, jeopardizing not only the campaign but hundreds of jobs. The board turned on Adrian, blaming his distractions, meaning Elise. In an emergency meeting, one board member said bluntly, "Fire her, or resign." Adrian stood slowly. "I'd rather lose the company than lose her." The room went silent. Elise's heart clenched. She knew what he was risking. Later, in his office, she wrote, "You can't do this for me." "I'm not doing it for you," he said softly. "I'm doing it because life without you isn't worth it." The next week was chaos, negotiations, late-night strategy sessions, press inquiries. Through it all, Adrian kept her close. They worked side by side, sometimes in silence, sometimes in quiet conversation. Finally, a new investor stepped in, saving the company. The board begrudgingly backed down. When the last document was signed, Adrian turned to her, exhaustion and relief in his eyes. "Come on," he said. "We're going somewhere." They drove back to the lake, their place. The water shimmered under the moonlight. Adrian took something from his coat pocket. The silver bracelet. He fastened it back onto her wrist. "This time," he said, "it doesn't come off." She smiled, a real, full smile that reached her eyes. And though she couldn't speak the words, he read them in her gaze, "I love you." He pulled her into his arms, the cold wind swirling around them, and for the first time, neither of them felt alone. Some people spend their lives building walls, and some people are worth tearing them down for. Adrian thought he didn't need love. Elise thought she didn't deserve it. But together, they learned the truth: love doesn't always need words to be heard. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to the Love Chapter by Aree, hit the like button, and tell us in the comments what part touched your heart the most.